Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Hearings Committee meeting. We've got a full day of submissions today. And I will open today's proceedings with a karakia. Mai iti pai moanga raro ke te tai, mai iti awa tonga raro ke te rawa raki. Tene te hapuri a whia e taratahi. Whano, haere mai te toki. Homie, hui, tai e. Welcome, Terry, online. We'll chat with you in a minute. Next up on our agenda are apologies. Don't believe we have any. We have a full committee here today. Next on the agenda are conflicts of interest declarations. Does any of the committee have any conflicts?
Well, I've got a submission around Holdsworth Road, so I guess that counts.
Noted.
You know the number of the person?
It's well down.
Steve Laurence has put a submission in around holds. Yes. So if we just note that, please. May I have someone move the conflict?
I'll move.
Okay. Second.
Robin.
Yep. So public forum, we actually don't have anyone in public forum because we'll be hearing submissions later in the proceedings. So next item on the agenda is confirmation of minutes, report 5.1 on page 6, minutes of our hearings committee held on the 22nd of August. Do I have any, are there any questions, any comments?
No.
Do I have someone move that they are a true and accurate record?
I can move that.
Thank you, Mr. Laurence.
And I can second.
Thank you, Mr. Dalla. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. The next item on the agenda is 6.1, which is our hearings procedures. So we have the hearings outlined. So just a reminder that today we will be hearing submissions on the draft speed management plan. We will be able to ask questions of those making submissions. We won't be getting into any conversations or any debate or deliberations about these. We'll just be taking note, asking questions for clarification. I have some other fellow councillors joining us as well who aren't on the committee, and they also are able to ask questions as well. Are there any questions on our hearings procedure? I shall move to the recommendation, and that's the recommendation that we note the hearings procedures. I'd like to move that. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Ron. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. So we move on to submissions on the draft speed management. That's report 6.2 on page 12. We have Johannes here with us. Yes. So could you mute, please? Thank you. Are there any questions or any clarifications required of Johannes on his report before we move to hearing the submissions? None? Excellent.
Simple.
Fantastic. Okay. Do I move to the recommendations now? Or do we do the hearings first? Robin, do I do the recommendations now, or do I move to the submissions first? We do the recommendations at the end.
I
I can do them. Okay, yep, sure. So we will move to the recommendations on page 15. We have 3 recommendations. The first recommendation is that the committee receives the submissions on the draft speed management plan, noting point A, 217 submissions were received and that 27 submissions are confirmed to be heard. Do I have somebody to move that, please?
I can move that.
Thank you, Steve.
I can second it.
Thank you, Brian. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. And second recommendation is that we note that a public excluded deliberations meeting for the Hearings Committee will be held on the 20th of September. I'm happy to move that. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Ron. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. And our third recommendation is that we note the recommendations from the Hearings Committee so that will be after our deliberations, will be presented to the 25th of October Council meeting for decision. Okay.
I can move.
Thank you, Brian. The seconder. Thank you, Steve. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. Right. Now we can move to hearing our submissions for the day. Our first submit we have on a joint, it's Alistair and Jenny Boyne.
Haven't come in yet.
They haven't come in yet. So our second submitter is Terese Bullock. Terese, are you happy to go? Are you ready to go now? Please take you're on mute. You'll just need to unmute yourself.
Am I all right now? Hi.
Yeah, perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. I apologise for not being there in person, but I'm actually in Wellington at present. Shall I carry on? Shall
Yes,
I start?
please carry on. So Teresa, sorry, I should have explained. So if you present your submission and just till you have 10 minutes, but allow enough time for us to have any questions for you.
Oh, that's right. It's not very long. I won't take a lot of your time. I just wanted to tell you why I think the speed limit should be reduced from 70 kilometres per hour to 50 along Lincoln Road towards Dalefield. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to read from this. Is this okay?
Absolutely, 100%. This is your time.
I know, this is what I normally do. It's just I'm quite passionate. Anyway, my husband Will and I bought a subdivisible section, one of 5 lots at 131 Lincoln Road well over a year ago, and have seen a huge increase in traffic along this road. We have been working on the land ever since and are building our house, so we noticed the road and its use. As I said, over this last year, we have seen a wide range of differences in the volume of traffic passing by us, notably the speed in which cars with trailers, some going to the tip, and a very large lorries, some tandem lorries, you know, the huge ones, all exceeding the 70k speed limit. We have also witnessed some very close shaves at the junction of Brooklyn Road and Lincoln Road, and often hear brakes screeching at that point. It's only a matter of time that someone may be fatally hurt. My huge concern is for the residents of Lincoln Road and the surrounding roads that feed into it. We do not have small children, but do have grandchildren that will visit our home, and for that I'm very concerned. It is ironic that NZTA Wakatahi have reduced the speed limit along State Highway 2 to 80 kilometres in view of saving lives. This is only 10 kilometres more than our road is at present. And we have housing on both sides. Sorry.
Okay.
Why do pages stick together when you don't want them to? Sorry.
No worries.
We have housing on both sides of most of it, and we do not have so much of the luxury of a presence as the highway does. NZTA also have reduced our town speed limit, which I think is adding to our roads pressure. If we are aiming for the road to zero strategy, I think as a town we are going to fail miserably with Lincoln Road as vehicles greatly exceed that speed limit of 70. I wish I could measure the speeds, but they look and sound very much in excess, and we are only 100 metres past the Brooklyn Road junction. Interestingly, we approached NZTA some time back with our concerns about the knock-on effect of their changing the main highway speed limits. They said that Lincoln Road was nothing to do with them, and we should lobby our council as it was in their jurisdiction. They only deal with highways. It is very sad that NZTA or Kakatahi can control and change road rules that ultimately affect other roads and communities and not take any responsibility for their road to zero in this instance. I have spoken to many of the residents of Lincoln Road, and they have given me some insight into the history of the road. It appears this road was originally 50k some 35 years ago, and this was changed to 70k. So I understand from a long-term resident that it could be used as a bypass for heavy traffic. At that time, both sides of the road was rural. Of course, this is not the case now, and if Carterton District Council continues to allow subdivisions at the rate they are, we, certainly on the town belt side of the road, will be seeing a lot more housing. I understand only recently at least 18 new subdividable plots have been permitted by yourselves, and I know personally few more in the pipeline, including 21 sections along Lincoln Road around number 75, which are being advertised at the moment with a sign on the section. But I understand from your permit department, I spoke to Becca, that they have not been put through council as yet. This is huge urbanisation on a road that we once considered rural. And we, the residents, are hugely concerned as there is no safety measures in place, i.e. speed cameras, speed bumps, for example, nor have we seen much visible police presence. Well, I haven't personally. The town is creeping to our road and it's happening very quickly. Coupled with the new permits on these subdivisions, more traffic. And an extra worry, of course, is if Kiwi Rail may have their way, Lincoln Road will become a highway. As this puts pressure on the road, I've heard from residents of accidents, cars into people's fences, into their paddock fields, and 3 bad accidents along this stretch. One accident involved a car hitting a police car at a junction, I understand. This is from other residents. The road is used by children and adults on bicycles, retirees on electric bikes, and I note a lot of people walking past our place, which does have a footpath, but the area from Brooklyn Road to Dalefield Road does not. I've walked it, I know. I dropped off the flyers and I was feeling most unsafe. A few comments from other residents. I have a 4-year-old and it's scary how fast the cars are going. Another resident, people are treating it like a country road. Another, there are lots of children who use the road to ride their push bikes, also twice a day to get to and from 4 different schools, and it's frightening to hear and see these speeding cars and trucks fly past. Lincoln Road is a bypass. A lot of cars and trucks use it so they can go faster, which they do, instead of the long, slow high street with the 2 speed bumps already in. Please be clear, my husband and I are not adverse to progress at all, and we have bought into the subdivisible situation ourselves. But I feel that if the council are open to this massive shift and permitting as such, thus increasing the urbanisation of our area, as well as taking into consideration the outside forces of speed restriction in our towns and environs, then as our council, you have to take responsibility, I feel, to make sure vehicles, residents, children, walkers and bikers are safe along that stretch of road. And we hopefully can be encouraged in knowing that council, by instigating this hearing, will take action on our behalf to reduce the speed limit along Lincoln Road. Kia ora and thank you.
Thank you, Terry. That was a great submission.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions for Terry from either the committee or any other elected members?
I mean,
No.
very clear. Very clear.
No, it was, I think your detail was to be commended, and sort of you said that have been dropping off flyers, so obviously you've communicated with a lot of the residents on Lincoln Road as well to put your submission together. Yeah, no, that's great. Terry,
I feel very passionate about it since we're there a lot building and we can see what's going on. And I understand people say, oh, people need education. But at the end of the day, they need some sort of boundary as well, just like children. Sorry.
No, don't apologise. Don't apologise at all. You've got.
Yeah, it's got one. Terry, thanks very much for your submission. Really good. Just one question. You say you're building building a new house in Lincoln Road. At what part of Lincoln Road is that more towards the Brooklyn Road intersection?
Yes,
Or further
yes.
down?
So if you're coming from the 50k area further up, and you're coming down, so we're just before Brooklyn Road going towards Darfield.
Okay.
So yeah, 131. It's rural on the other side, but we're just. Oh, you know where Reynolds joinery factory is? Do you know
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
Well, we're on the other side of that, and we bought one of 5, and ours is the biggest lot. But the other side of the chappie that's subdivided, there's another 4 lots on the corner.
Okay. Thank you.
So it's just on that. Yeah. So we're very close to the junction.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry, for your time this morning. Really appreciate putting a submission in, because if we don't have people submitting and then coming to speak, then we're kind of a little bit feeling our way in the dark too. So I really appreciate your time today.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome to stay on and listen to
I've actually got to go and pick up my grandchild, but thank you very much. And I will watch and hope something's going to happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
A little bit. We haven't heard from the first submitter.
Charlie Post. Number 3rd.
Yep.
You're number 3.
If you're happy to come through now, Charlie. So everyone will notice that Charlie's submission is number 29. Hi.
That's me. I did print out a couple of things, just sort of maps, so I can assist in where I'm going to talk
great.
today. I've only got 8 of them, but I think that will.
That's great. Thank you.
Sorry, me, I didn't realize you guys were here as well.
Minutes.
So,
Time for questions.
great. Look, it's
Robin over in the corner will let us know if we're running a little bit late.
super. I haven't got anything quite as polished as Terry. But to start with, fully support the reduction in speed up and down the Carterton area. I think it is overdue, and I speak on behalf of, well, as a parent at Gladstone School and also on the school board. And we see the cars going past Gladstone School at a rate of knots, which is just terrifying. We've got a top field where kids are kicking the ball over the fence and having to go over and get it as well, and across a really busy road. And so we've had to stop that. And as you approach Gladstone School from the south, if you're heading north onto Fitty Road past Fitzherbert, it's a blind rise that you come up and over, and all of a sudden you're there at the school entrance at 100 kilometres an hour with cars trying to pull out, and it's just terrifying. It's a miracle there haven't been more accidents, actually. There are. What I have done is the first page is just a snapshot of what the proposed speed limit is from the proposal that Carterton District Council have done. The second page shows at a fairly macro level the serious, minor and fatal crashes that have occurred in the district. The third page is just a blow up of that, focusing on that area around Gladstone School, the same area as the first page, but just showing where those serious and fatal accidents have been. You'll see there, around the centre of the page, there have been 2 fatal and 2 serious accidents on a very dangerous corner. That corner is not covered by the proposal put forward by council. It stops just short of there. So I would love to see the proposal to reduce the speed limit extend through that corner. And I think there's pretty good evidence for it as well. There's 5 actually, serious or fatal accidents within a stretch of road just north of that. I would actually like to see that proposal carry on to the area between Tikopi Road and the bridge over Taweru River. So if you look 2 pages further on, you can see looking down to Fitty Road, it's a long straight. It's just had a bit of roadworks done on it to repair the slump from the cattle underpass. And it's a very long road and cars whiz down there, even doing 100 kilometres an hour, it's a steady, fast speed. And then all of a sudden you hit a small rise and you've got the Te Kopi Road intersection where trucks, cattle trucks, sheep trucks are pulling in, so they've all had to slow down and cars are weaving around them to get out. If you're coming northbound, so from the south, you come around a blind corner and into the back of a truck that has stopped there to cross the road, and it's very dangerous. And I would love to see a reduction to 70 kilometres an hour or less at the part of the road between the Tauwhiru River and the Te Kopi Road intersection. I think it would save lives. I think it would reduce harm, and I think minimisation of harm is kind of what we're all about in this process. And I think it'll be an easy fix, and I think there's enough evidence in previous crash history to indicate that it will be supported. The other thing I'm really keen on is just the timing of this as well. So that speed limit past the school, if it's the case of, and it's never as simple as this, but putting up a few signs to lower the speed limit, how fast can we do that? And how long are you prepared to wait as a council to do that as well? What would it take to make that go faster?
Needs to be approved by the council. Yes.
Absolutely. Yep. So approved by the council is one thing. I think you outlined a closed hearing and then recommendations to council to be approved. Yeah. And so once that occurs, then there'll be a program because you have to, get signs, get works, get consent, do all of that sort of stuff as well. Are we talking sort of a year? Are we talking 6 months? Are we talking 4 years?
Can't answer that at the moment. Today is just about hearing the submissions. We can possibly get an indication maybe, but we can't.
Super, that's good. And everyone will have their own priority. Everyone will believe, that the Lincoln Road speed reduction is the most important. The Gladstone School is the most important. Of course they are. They all are. But if there's an opportunity to prioritise kids, then, in schools, I think that would be a pretty good way to go. That's all I have.
You want to give us an indication?
Yes, I can answer. Kia ora. Thank you, Charles, for your submission. So as soon as once it's gone through the process and then approved by the Director of Land Transport, we will then start implementing, the planning of that will start immediately. So it won't be a year away. We will prioritise schools, early childhood centres and marae. So you should see within the first year of it being approved, you should see those changes come in play.
Super. And other proposals, once agreed by council, ready to go to the Director of Transport, Director of Land Transport?
So once council has signed it off, we present it to the Director of Land Transport, and then they endorse.
Cool. Do you know if they've got a reasonable turnaround time?
We can't answer that on yeah. So really, I've kind of given you a little bit of leeway here because normally it's us asking you questions, but I realise who you're representing in your submission and think it would be beneficial for you to sort of hear from Johannes the process.
It is fantastic.
So
Appreciate that. Thank you.
no problems at all. Committee or other elected members? Questions, Brian?
Question, Charlie, thanks very much for your submission and on behalf of the stall and the residents. Really good submission. Just one question, the southern, you say you want to start the 70k area around the Te Kopi Road corner.
Northern end, yep.
Yeah, northern end. So the southern end, how far do you envisage or you would like the proposal to go as far as past the school or?
Oh, no, look, I am happy with the proposal as it stands. It starts at the wheel right there, I think, sort of the Gladstone Road turn off. I don't know if you'd have it sort of slightly further back to allow people to slow down before they hit the intersection, but you guys will, are the experts in that space. I was happy with that. Yeah. It's slowing it down. For me, it's slowing it down around a notable black spot where there have been fatal accidents and ensuring that the school is protected. That's where I would look. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, good submission. And the accidents that that are highlighted there around school location, I know you've got the markers to show that those accidents have occurred. Is there any information that shows what caused the accidents?
Not on those.
Specifically speed, evidence of that?
I'd say it would be crossing the centre line as a result of speed.
I'm asking you, do you have that evidence?
So I don't have the evidence of what caused the accident to hand. I could try and find it out for you if you like.
Thank you.
Councillors, any other questions? A great submission, and thank you for the additional information as well. This is really, you've done a lot of work in putting this together. Really, really appreciate it. And appreciate your time today.
Okay.
Other questions? Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you for having me.
That was
Thank you.
great. Awesome. Okay. We are running ahead of time. How good's that? It's Georgina.
Yes, Georgiana, thank you.
Georgiana, sorry. Would you like to
Sure.
present your submission? Would you like to take a seat?
Or would you like me to sit
So
up?
if you'd like to sit through here, thank you. And it feels a little bit like an interview panel, but I promise that we are friendly. We don't bite. I've had coffee, so I'm good. I can't speak for the rest of my committee members. I'm presuming they've had breakfast.
I have, not my coffee yet, though.
Oh, right.
That's-
So if you didn't hear before, you have 10 minutes to make your submission and then just allow some time for questioning.
Okay,
And on behalf of the committee, thank you for your submission and over to you.
okay, Morena Tato. I'm here as a resident of Millers Road towards Longreach. And I'm here really to propose that Millers Road be considered within the 80K drafts management plan and taking it from 100K down to 80. The reasons for this from my perspective are that it's high vehicle use and there are also quite high speeds used along that road. Sometimes it's used as a racing track by motorbikes and other vehicles. And you were probably quite familiar with events that have occurred on the corner of Longbush Road and Millers Road just over the weekend. And given the policing, the low numbers of policing, how this 80K thing will be managed, I wouldn't know. But anyway, so there are. My concerns are about particularly that there is a very little verge on most of the road along Millers Road, and there are a number of cyclists who use that road. So it is used quite a lot by the cyclists who both come here to the Wairarapa for the weekend, but also those who are resident around this area. It's also used quite frequently by walkers who have to navigate very much along the edge of the road. Vehicles on the straight parts of Millers Road don't tend to slow down. And some areas of Millers Road are not easily visible to oncoming traffic. They would find it quite difficult to see people on the side of the road, cyclists. Particularly, there's a hill area towards closer towards Longbush that's very narrow, and I've had to navigate that by foot quite carefully in a ditch, which is about the only part of the road part of that track that you can walk that part of the road. During the hay and baleage season, the road is used quite frequently by large trucks and by tractors. And so high-speed vehicles really are not always considerate of that traffic. And really, some of that traffic, that seasonal traffic, is quite wide as well. So it requires a slowing down of the oncoming traffic. I'm a horse rider, and I used to ride that road quite a lot, particularly when I first came here to the Wairarapa about 5 years ago. Now it's too dangerous to ride it. I had to be quite careful anyway, but because there is a very limited verge, if any, in cases I was having to ride off the road. Now, if I have to take the road to get to farmlands to ride on, I have to walk the horse down the road on the side of the road, and there are some corners, as I said earlier, that are blind, so that can be quite hazardous. There's been quite a lot of development on the state highway between Carterton and Masterton. A lot of the traffic has used the Millers Road from Martinborough, some possibly from the Carterton, to travel to Masterton more quickly, because there isn't a speed restriction. So the increase in volume of traffic on that road. But that's pretty much my submission. I think that covers all my bases.
Great submission. Any questions from committee this morning?
So, Georgiana, you think there's been a significant increase in traffic on Millers Road over the last 2 or 3 years?
I think there's been a significant increase. I noticed it particularly since the state highway development, obviously. But I do think, I mean, I've only been here 4.5 to 5 years this year, and I do think there is an increase in volumes along that road. I worry about cyclists who use it much more than I do now, and also walkers. A couple of people who live in the proximity who walk that road quite frequently as part of the exercise. And I think, I think there's been an increase in traffic volumes a lot.
Just got one question, Georgiana. I've noticed along Millers Road lately, well, in the last few years, there's a lot more housing going in and subdivision.
Yes.
Little lifestyle blocks, etc. Are you one of those, or are you on the farm, more of the farming?
No, I'm. A lot of that is occurring around me.
Yes.
Yes, a lot of that development. There is actually, that's a good point. I hadn't factored that in. There is a lot more
residents.
A lot more residents. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I think that's very clear.
Yes. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Really, really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity.
That's great.
Thank you.
As I said before, it's good to be able to hear.
Yes, I didn't see whether there was I didn't see anyone else had put forward a proposal for a reduced. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Next we have Carterton Kindergarten. So Alice.
Yeah.
Is it? Hi, welcome Alice. Hello. So you will have heard 10 minutes, allow time for questions. So submissions number 167 on our schedule.
My name is Alice Horsham and I'm a parent at Carterton Kindergarten, and I'm speaking on behalf of Nellie, who submitted the submission. Unfortunately, she can't be here this morning. Our main concern was that Carterton Kindergarten has been left off the proposal. We're on Victoria Street, we're 3 Victoria Street. And we would obviously like to see that remedied. We have a daily roll of about 42 students. And so that is a considerable number of small children and siblings who are leaving the premises at the end of the day. We also, looking at the technical report, we noticed that Just Us Kids, which is further down the street at 36 Victoria Street, was included in the report. And the recommendation for Just Us Kids is a variable speed limit of 30 kilometres, but that decision doesn't take into account Carterton Kindergarten. And because there are 2 preschools on Victoria Street and also the church at the corner, St David's, which also runs a preschool program, we would like Victoria Street's recommendations to be reviewed again. It may be that variable speed of 30 k's in 2 parts of the road is a little bit messy, and there might be an approach which works better for the entirety of the street. We definitely have concerns about the speed at which cars travel down Victoria Street. As the volume of traffic on State Highway 2 is increasing, cars have to go faster when they're waiting to turn into Victoria Street from State Highway 2 because there's more traffic, so you've got to get through that little gap when you spot it. And just from being in the kindergarten and watching traffic down the street, we notice that a lot of it is travelling at quite high speeds. And the Tonkin report noticed that one of the serious accidents in Carterton in the last couple of years was on Victoria Street, and it was involving speed, and worryingly it had occurred at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which would be a time when you would expect children to be around. And while I'm here, we would also like to take the opportunity to propose that a crossing be put in at some point on Victoria Street to acknowledge the fact that there is those 2 preschools, as noted before, and the church, which has a lot of variable traffic, especially when there are funerals. There's often a lot of traffic parked down that road. It's quite a wide road, which can make it difficult to get small children safely across, especially when those cars are turning in off State Highway 2 onto Victoria Street. And also noting that there's a reasonable amount of heavy traffic using Kindsley AgVet trucks and other industrial type vehicles. And those are our thoughts.
Very well thought out. And obviously you've read the report quite thoroughly too.
Yeah, they were really interesting.
Awesome. Thank you. Question?
Sorry. Alice, the idea of a pedestrian crossing in Victoria Street, have you got any ideas of where you would think the best place for that would be?
I mean, ideally it would be closest to Carterton Kindergarten, but I think that I guess you wouldn't want it so close to the intersection, because that would cause problems with cars moving off. So it would probably need to be further down towards Oh, I don't know the names of those two streets.
Garrison.
Yeah, Garrison, sorry, yeah, down there,
Thank you.
no worries.
Cool.
Steve or Ron, any questions?
This is a bit peripheral, but
I'm just.
do you have a view on what impact the rail crossings?
No,
What you're talking about?
and I read that latest from the 4th of August, the press release where they're going back to the paper, going back to the drawing board to see what happens. I mean, it's really hard to know what the flow of traffic will be like. I know that Victoria Street was included in, it is initially proposed to be closed, but then it forms, Victoria Street forms like a U with the road outside, yeah, and out the traffic coming out of the supermarket. And so it could be that we do see more traffic because turning into that, I'm sorry, I'm really bad at street names.
Street comes off, yeah, which forms the,
Yes, but outside the supermarket, turning down there, the traffic might be seen as too heavy, so people might like to come down Victoria Street and hoping to miss that bit there. And thank you. This is another parent from Kindy.
Kids be able to go out off Lincoln Road.
Yeah, have come back up. It would be really, I think that seeing what Waka Kotahi's decision around Victoria Street and the streets next to it would make a difference about where you would want to put a crossing. Which I guess could be some time away.
Dale, and then Lou.
Just really a point of, hi Alice,
Hi.
just a point of clarification. Was the centre left off or did it not meet the criteria because of its location?
It wasn't intentionally left off. The speed limit was, from my point of view, the speed limit would have covered them as well. So that's just an error in the plan. Thanks. They do fit the criteria.
I just see that's a variable speed. So what time frame would Kindy be? Like what time do you think the drop-offs and pickups would need to be for that variable speed to be slowed?
Well, I'm not sure what Just Us Kids hours are, but I assume that Kindy's are slightly shorter because it's not a daycare. So the variable speed for Kindy, I would imagine would need to be between 8 and 9:30 in the morning, and then in the afternoon between 2 and 3. I think for the church as well, a lot of funerals seem to be held mid-morning, between 10 and 11. So there might be need to be some consideration around that traffic as well.
You mentioned with the church that they also provided childcare. Is that school holidays? Is it?
It's on Wednesdays.
On Wednesdays, that's right.
And it runs from 9:30 until 11:30.
Okay, thank you.
Something, Robin, they also have started doing a holiday program.
Ah, cool.
Just making notes. Cool. Any other questions? Alice, thank you so much for your time.
No worries.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Next, we have Dr. Lesley MacGibbon. Yes, welcome. Would you like to come and take a seat for us? So on behalf of the Carterton Cycling Group, and this is number 28 submission. 10 minutes, allow time for questioning.
Okay,
Over to you. Thank you for the submission.
I won't take that long. Kia ora tātou. I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity of coming here and talking to the submission. I'm a cyclist and I'm representing the Carterton Cycle Group. We've got about 6 members. It's an informal group. We cycle twice a week on the roads around Wairarapa. We don't have all 60 going out at once, usually between 20 and 30 at a time. We cycle between, we have a short ride each week of 20 Ks and usually a longer ride between 40 and 60 Ks. So we cover a lot of the territory in the greater Wairarapa, not just the Carterton area. I also am representing the Carterton District Trails Trust. I'm the chairperson of that trust. And we're working to get Carterton District more user-friendly for cyclists. For example, we want a bridge over the Waihini. It's our first thing to get people here. But I really just begin by saying that the Wairarapa, the Carterton District and the Wairarapa as a whole is an absolute cyclist dream. We are so lucky that we have so many quiet country roads to explore. It really is wonderful. And the roads give a variety of just about everything a cyclist could want, from older people on e-bikes like me through to younger ones who want a bit of adventure going up Mount Dick. We've got the whole range. It's great. I just want to make a few points. The first one is that I think it's really, we think it's really important to have consistency across the 3 council areas. So, you know, it's no good having slow, fast, slow, fast, slow. It will end up with people just doing the fastest across the whole area. So, and I know it's outside our control, your control here, but that's something we really do support, is the coordinating with both Masterton and South Wairarapa to have a consistent framework across the whole area. The second point is with State Highway 2 now at 80 kilometres an hour, we believe that all rural roads, we would like all rural roads to be 80 kilometres as well. We're worried that if some of our local roads remain 100, we're going to get displacement of State Highway 2 onto those quieter, more bendy, less safe roads. And they're the roads we cycle on. So we really don't want people thinking if they're coming from Greytown to Masterton, oh, we'll whip up Waihekeke and then along Carter's Line because that's all 100. Whereas if we went up the State Highway 2, we're stuck at 80. And the same with Hughes Line. I mean, it was a really good example when the roadworks were on the main road. Hughes Line was a major diversion, just because at that stage it was still 100 for a while till it got closed. So, yeah. So we would like, you know, consistency of just 80 Ks an hour everywhere. Outside, we're not talking about inside here, inside the 4 streets around Carterton, but on the rural roads, it would be great if they were all 80. We don't see any need to differentiate unsealed or sealed roads. As far as cyclists go, they're the same. Unsealed roads don't seem to be any more dangerous than sealed roads. The fact that they're usually narrower is the issue rather than the actual seal itself, the seal or unseal itself. So for cyclists, it's not a particular concern about, we don't have a particular concern about unsealed roads. The fourth point is the most dangerous roads for cyclists in the Carterton district area are currently Park Road and Carter's Line. They're 2 key arterial roads we keep off them as much as we can, just because they're not safe. Park Road in particular has nothing on the sides. There's no sort of boundary where bikes can go. You've just got the sealed road, and then you've got a ditch. So there's nowhere for cyclists to go, and cars do speed down Park Road. And the same with Carter's Line. There's no shoulder on either of those roads that would make it safe for cyclists to just do a little detour if they needed to. I'm not going to talk about the need for lower speeds past schools and Mariah and things like that. I think we've no problems with that. You know, where there needs to be a lower speed limit, that's fine, that's great. But for us, the main concern is just lowering the overall speed limit on our rural roads. And I mean, Wairarapa is generally a very safe place for cyclists. But lowering the speed limit to 80 would presumably make it even safer. And that's it. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Open for questions. Anyone? Very well presented. Great.
Thank you.
Shows that there's no questions. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your time this morning.
Good.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Daryl? Morning. So Daryl has made a submission number 95. Welcome. You've got 10 minutes, and if you allow some time for questions, Daryl, welcome.
Sorry, I'm very new at this. I apologise if
We're very friendly.
I see.
Okay. We
Great.
don't bite.
Some of us are friendlier than others.
Yeah. I'm very friendly. Don't worry
Daryl's my
about them.
neighbour.
Oh, God.
So I come here with an open mind. Born and bred in Pakeha Tour. Well, for a start, thank you again for allowing us to speak. Born and bred in Pakeha Tour, raised Kuri roads, bits and pieces. So
Conflict of interest.
we understand narrow roads, gravel, and then later on in life, obviously, you get to experience motorways and bits and pieces. Personally, I travel around about 40 to 52,000 Ks a year on different road surfaces around the greater part of the lower part of New Zealand, and which is why I'm here today. I'm bringing a different view. Hopefully, it's not too conflicted. I do understand and agree with the need for the controls around the schools of different age pupils and pedestrian crossings, etc., especially with the massive growth of all of our towns. It's something that everybody needs to be, and I'm sure they are aware of. But putting up a sign with a lower number on it will not and does not fix Wakakate's Road to Zero campaign. But putting up different speed signs in small areas may also be confusing to other drivers. People riding on horses and carriages before the use of cars also had crashes and injuries, and heaven forbid, even deaths. Riding in a train back then was also not without risk or delays. The up-to-date and relevant current information regarding this topic would seem to be very vague, to the point that those in charge of this pipe dream surely can't be deeming it important. Surely the common sense approach would be to improve the road and then improve the driver using the said road. I would honestly hate to think that of what overall the cost of the infrastructure, meetings, resource consents and labour and downtime truly is to get us this far. I'm sure the funds would be far more effectively used in repairing existing roads properly and correctly, so longevity of a current road surface was achieved. If a vehicle becomes unstable travelling on a road due to potholes or missing chunks of road edge, lowering travel speed just means you get the same result, but not so fast. Lowering the speed limit on our main roads or highways is just antagonises those driving along it with a purpose. It does cost everybody directly and indirectly. Vehicles do not run efficiently as engines begin to labour. And as you're all more than well aware, it takes longer for people to get anywhere. Last time everybody took notice when the cost of fuel and wages went up. More time on a road means more fuel used and more labour is charged. Therefore, food and everything else you require instantly becomes more expensive. Can our leaders and rulers not arrange driver training as part of an experience and skill level towards getting a licence to drive, thereby helping to eliminate some of those slower and nervous travellers driving in the middle of a road and supposedly forgetting any road etiquette, like pulling over to the left to allow others to pass when it was safe and practical to do so? To drive any type of vehicle, it has always been maintained that a certain skill level was required. This skill was improved with more driving and informed knowledge of the road rules and the road code. This brings me to my next point regarding rural roads and gravel roads. Rural people live and drive on these roads mainly. So do the people and businesses that service the rural requirements. They are sometimes required to drive on narrow and sometimes gravel roads to do this. Driving on these roads is a skill also picked up by doing this. They learn to drive to the conditions presented each day and every day. This is also a driving skill. For those that aren't familiar with the road or the conditions, they are certainly allowed to use common sense and drive a little slower. If there is a tight bend or deceptive corner, there is usually a symbol or a road sign, possibly with a guide regarding the speed to use this area of the road. Should they discover while driving to their ability in a safe manner, they are holding up somebody behind them, they could remember the road code and pull over to the left. It was safe and practical to do so. You never know, the driver you've allowed to pass may even give you a friendly toot or a wave. No stressing out or anger issues for anybody. I do understand and sympathise with the concerns from the people living and working on the back roads of this area, off the main roads. I can't help but wonder if the main roads were easier and quicker to use, then a lot of the traffic would stop belting down them. Thus, in turn, saving the back road services from deteriorating through higher traffic volumes and those drivers that are left to use the road as it was originally designed. I do understand and agree that some rural roads are experiencing higher traffic volumes as more people use the roads for driving, cycling, etc. For us, a point in case is the Mount Holdsworth Road that shows 100 kilometres an hour on your sat-nav. We agree and would like to see this lowered to an 80k level, as it does make it safer for cars, cyclists, riders and pedestrians. But we do believe that Norfolk Road should remain at 100 k's, as it's basically a straight road with only one deceptive corner, where a road sign with a symbol and a suggested road speed for that patch of road would be more than adequate. And I'm asking you, please do not overthink it. If there is a concern about children getting out onto the road, do the same thing as the farmers around them do. Keep the gate shut and those little creatures safe. I would ask you all to remember a few years ago when there were many meetings and discussions regarding amending and setting of New Zealand's road speeds for the entire country. Speeds set then were to ensure everybody's safety on and off the road, around schools, pedestrian crossings alike. These new speeds were made law and were policed as such. Interestingly enough, the vehicles in use at this time of the speed assessments were not fitted with airbags. Some cars had disc brakes on the front wheels, ABS and traction control hadn't been invented. Power steering was the new must-have along with radial tyres. Or does nobody remember Holden's, Falcons, Hillman Hunters, Morris Miners and Minis? I'm also led to believe that emergency services like ambulances and fire engines, etc., are allowed to travel 30 k's faster than the area speed limit to get to those in need of their services. I'd like you to take a moment and think about that. Would you want them there sooner or later or too late? A point of interest I would like to bring to this meeting is the change in traffic direction. I'm sure there must be some numbers to back this up. But as the roading has been improved on the other side of the ranges, making it quicker and easier to get out of the Greater Wellington area to Otaki, Palmerston North and beyond into Hawke's Bay, I wonder how much business and turnover we're about to miss by making this journey through the Wairarapa long and frustrating. Even though last summer was not that flash, this change in people's movements was obvious, and those spoken with were vocal about it. I know and appreciate that every individual resident cannot be catered for, and there will always be someone that doesn't agree with things due to them, to their own personal circumstances. But I ask you, for the greater good of all people in the Wairarapa, don't mess with our road speeds. Other than a few road amendments due to increased traffic and more modern times, it wasn't broken. Don't waste time, money and resource. Plan for the future in a positive manner. I have truly tried to keep an open mind regarding this new set of designer rules and regulations, weighing up the pros and cons. Myself and others of a practical nature just can't see enough pros. We're left frustrated and confused how a tiny minority of people can be allowed to dumb down drivers, roads, infrastructure, and to kill off town and rural business without being challenged and held to task.
9 minutes.
Okay. We know as individuals that trying to talk to the rule makers and financial controllers in Parliament is futile. This fantastic and amazing area of New Zealand needs your assistance to sort this out. There are two main issues we believe to sort out: road condition and driver etiquette, respect and skill. Again, thank you for your time today and listening to everybody else after me and regarding to this matter. I truly look forward to a positive and sensible outcome, and please make it soon. Some of the locals are getting restless.
Daryl, thank you. That was a great submission.
All right.
Open up for any questions. Ron.
Yeah, great submission. And I could only, my only question to you is, could you table that for I noticed you read that. Supplies with that's your oral submission, section your written.
Yeah.
Could you table that for us?
Somebody.
If you could email it.
Somebody through me.
Robin Blue, I would have emailed you about.
Oh, okay.
Hearing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. I know this is over, but if we are moving forward in a practical sense with the cycle lane proposed through Chester Road and Norfolk Road, it would be great if some further future thought was thought about the Holdsworth camp down Mount Holdsworth Road. It's a nice road. People like riding it. People like driving it. We know the numbers that are going past there. If that was factored in somewhere, 80k definitely helps. But you now have more children staying local or coming to this area, which is great. Let's promote it. Let's keep it safe and let's keep it going.
Great.
All right.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just-
Daryl.
I get from the sense of your submission, Daryl, I get the sense you're more concerned about the state highway than what we're proposing for the.
My concern is that, and we have seen it in other countries, where you have different speeds everywhere, and even more so if you're new to an area, you spend more time concentrating on the speed that you should be doing rather than actually concentrating on the drive. The speaker before me by saying if there was some sort of stability between all the areas, and if it has to be 30 kilometres at a school, then it's 30 kilometres at a school. But everything else, if you can keep it simple, like no 40s, just 50s like it used to be, and open speed has to be 100k. I mean, we're beyond a horse and cart. We're in modern times with modern vehicles and modern safety features. If people aren't handling 100 kilometres an hour, then they need to upskill. My other main concern also is if we train the younger people here to drive around at 30 kilometres an hour and 80 kilometres an hour, when they leave the area and get to Wellington or Auckland or anywhere else where it's 100 k's, they're not used to it. And my concern is there of crashing and so on and so forth.
Thank you.
Do
What, last question?
Yeah, do one really quick. You're suggesting Holdsworth Road down to 80k. It's dead straight. Open.
Holdsworth, Mount Holdsworth.
Mount Holdsworth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Norfolk Road.
Got you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now,
Right.
Fantastic. Thank you. We look forward to receiving
Thank you.
So thank you for your time this morning. Okay, we will now take a break as scheduled in our agenda and reconvene 20.